In this lesson, we're going to write drums. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I have a lot of different ways to write drums. There's a big argument on Twitter with the producer community of, are you dragging audio into the timeline or are you writing drums in MIDI? And I do both, depending on what I'm feeling, what feels more novel to me, or do I feel like doing things in a more designing way, in which case I'll probably drop them into the timeline, or do I feel like just playing? And when I feel like playing, I'm much more likely to just put the drums in a drum rack, as we discussed in the last lesson, and start either beating on the QWERTY keyboard or playing on my MIDI controller or a drum pad, whatever the case may be. So there's a lot of different ways into the process of making drums. In this video, we're going to be using the drum rack and triggering the drum cells using a MIDI controller. Now, setting the tempo for me, I usually just connect to how I'm feeling and tap in the tempo. So there's always some kind of like movement happening inside. There's always like your heartbeat and your breath. So I'm gonna tap the tempo according to like what my current head nod is. So we're at like 133. That's a tempo that I write in quite a bit. So I'm going to turn on the metronome. I'm going to arm the track. Cool. I'm going to launch this clip and play these drums. Cool. So I got a couple of hi-hats in here, a couple of stutters. Some of it was a bit early, some of it was a bit late. I'm going to quantize all this, and I know I used a 16th note there at the end. I had a kick stutter that's going to be in the 16th notes. Right now, my current grid is set to 8th notes. Now I'm going to hold Command Shift and hit U to bring up the quantize settings just to show you how I quantize things. I have my amount set to 50% so that when I quantize something, it's only going to move it half the distance to the grid value. If I really want something hard fixed to the grid, I'm just going to spam Command U and just have it quantize over and over and over again. In this case, the current grid is an 8th note, so I know that when I come back to quantize, I'm going to have to shrink the grid down some. Command 1 shrinks the grid. Now I've got it so that when I quantize it, cool. I see something around here that's maybe going to be troubling, but let's see. Cool, so I like this. I'm gonna duplicate these hi-hats from the first bar so that they're pretty much the same. Copy them to this bar. Cool. Now I'm gonna duplicate the loop and I'm gonna make some change to it. Let's see what it feels like. Change up this kick pattern for this second. Also for this bar right here between 7 and 8, I'm gonna have one of these like kicks that comes in every quarter note. It's like a real kind of like stomping feel. Cool. So I like this drum pattern. I'm also going to make sure that the kicks are all the same velocity, so I can highlight the kick by clicking this key right here. Bring them all up. I'm gonna do the same for the snares. The hi-hats I'm gonna leave nice and loose. Cool, so In the next lesson, we're going to add more percussive flourishes, and I'll show you a couple more tricks for hi-hats.